Hello fellow gamers, welcome to part 8 of the Witness walkthrough. I am a console gamer and today we're gonna go to the Shady Woods. We're starting off here where we left off on our last episode, the monastery. There is a gate right here that we can open up to make our trip to the Shady Woods a little bit faster. The Shady Woods are those orange or yellowish trees next to the keep. And the laser here in this area is actually inside that gate. So that's our goal for today, is to solve the puzzles to open up that gate and activate our laser. So to get started, we're gonna solve this simple puzzle right here, which opens up this gate and leads us to our first active puzzle, which is this one right here. Now the key to solving the panels here in the Shady Woods is to use the shades. We're gonna use the shades to figure out how to follow, to figure out the paths we need to follow. So you can see the shades here are actually blocking part of the or some of the squares or part of the path. So we're gonna trace around the shades until we get to our exit. Now here you can see there's a big shade covering the panel, and that shade is actually being cast by this gate we just went through. So we're gonna have to open it again so we can see the rest of the panel. See, that's what it should look like. So now we know which shades we need to trace around. Okay. Now that also opened up a gate right here, which actually leads to the quarry. We'll tackle that area in a future episode. For now, we're gonna ignore that path and we're gonna continue this way to do this area. Now here you notice that there's a bunch of vertical lines casting a shadow. Now those vertical lines come from the structure, from the ceiling of this structure right here. Those can be ignored. The shades that we need to worry about are actually natural shades, or shades casted by the trees or wood or pieces of branches that fell into the roof or the ceiling of this little area right here. So same thing with this one. We have a few vertical and a few horizontal lines whose shadows are being cast by the ceiling and not so much by trees. So those can be ignored. We only need to worry about the shadows that are cast by tree branches. Okay. See, then we have one more right here. See, there's a few broken branches up there. Those are the ones we need to worry about. This one is actually very simple. It's a lot easier than it looks. Okay, now we're gonna follow this set of cables, and it looks like we can go two ways. So let's go this way first. Okay, so here we have a new variance of the puzzle. You'll see part of the shadows are being casted on this structure right here, which is covering the panel. So we're gonna have to take those into account as we work on solving this puzzle. You can see on the shadows there's a very clear path that goes up, then to the right, and then all the way down to the exit. So the puzzles we're gonna find from this point on are using structures or other areas. The shadows are not being cast only on the panel itself, but also part of it is somewhere else in the vicinity, in that panel's vicinity. Here, this one is actually here on the side, and it is a little crooked, so but it's not too hard or too difficult to figure out. Because the path is still fairly clear in the shadow. And this one, you'll notice the shadow is actually moved. So you see the puzzle has two starting points. The correct one is actually this one. You have to move the shadow to the right so that the starting point fits to that, and you can fit the whole shadow into the panel. Hopefully that explanation is coming across clearly. It's kind of hard to explain, but if not, the solution is right there. Now, this one took me a while to figure out, and I didn't notice that the shadow is all the way up here. So I took a picture of that shadow, and then that helped me figure this one out. So that whole right side of the panel is casted on the shadow up on that tree trunk, all the way up on that tree trunk we just saw. Okay. Let's keep following the cable. And actually, let me show you something right up here. Before we move on, there's actually an audio log right here. You should pick up before you leave the area. And we can come back and do the next panel. Now this one, the shadow is being casted on the rock that is right behind it. So once again, I used my phone. I took a picture of the shadow that was casted on that rock, and I used that to guide me in order to solve this panel right here. And it looks like the cable goes up here. This one, the whole shadow is on this structure right here, on that fraction of a fence. Okay, we got that one. Let's see, the cable comes up here. And this one, the shadow is also casted here on this structure. And you gotta do your best to align it so you can get the full shadow, because part of it is being cast on the piece of wood behind the structure. So I did the same idea. I aligned it, took a picture of it, and then that helped me. I used that to guide me on which path I needed to follow. Okay, and it looks like that one may be it for this section. Like that cable is taking us all the way back to the entrance, it seems. Yep. Let's see. And there it is. Kind of, it goes to the dirt, and yep, it opened up one of the gates. So we need to, if you remember, a while back, one of the cables had a split into two. So the other direction came to this panel right here. Now here we're also using the shadows, but similar to the monastery, now we're gonna use the shadows to figure out which path to follow instead of so that they're actually showing us which path to follow instead of blocking our way. That's why I wanted to show you the monastery first, because what we learned there helps us in this area. So even if the shadows don't fit exactly, aren't exactly precise, they are showing you the path to follow. Okay, looks like this one is next. See, like this is a good example. This one, the shadows are all crooked. So you just trace them the best you can in order to follow the path they show. Now this one I solved it from a little farther behind, because if you get too close, your shadow will actually block the panel. So that's why I stood away a little bit, so my shadow wouldn't block it. Yeah, and this one is very simple. Just tracing that short path. It was all covered in shadows. So if it's simple, sometimes it's better not to overthink it and just do what it looks. If it looks straightforward, it may just be. Now that we open both gates, now we can solve this one. Now here, the puzzle is actually split. So the right side of the puzzle is following the first concept we saw, which is the shadows are blocking our way. The left side of the puzzle, the shadows are showing us which path to follow. So we're tracing through the shadows on the left and avoiding the shadows on the right. There you have it. That's the solution. So with that, we just activated our laser, and we're gonna go ahead and stop the video right here. Once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you find the video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments below as well. I'll do my best to answer them. And I think that will be it for today. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.